And welcome back to Who Would Win? This week's Who Would Win comes to us from Black Burton, one of the two. Who asked the question, who would in a fight? A Yautja, a predator, versus Shrek? And look, this is actually not a bad fight, and when you think about it, because the Yautja, generally speaking, beats a human. But humans are smart enough and clever enough to, every once in a while, especially at the end of the films normally, get the one-up over the Yautja. But ultimately, as a species, we are kind of inferior to them in many ways. But because, again, of our intelligence, we are able to overcome a Yautja when we need to. The thing about Shrek is that, and 1 second here, I am looking up the Shrek wiki right now for some information. Let's see. Do they actually give a size of Shrek? No, Shrek does not have a stat line. Okay. So I was about to say that, or bring up the fact that Shrek, generally speaking, he's intelligent as any other human, basically sentient individual. He's not a genius by any stretch of means, but he's clever enough to problem solve. He's a relatively intelligent guy, but he's also an ogre. He has a tendency to be a bit brutish, be a bit anger driven when he gets angry. So I mean, he's not like a super genius, but he's kind of your standard smart tough guy, or tough guy with a solid head on his shoulders. Physically, though, that's what I was trying to get at. We don't have a physical stat line for Shrek. I tried to look it up on their specific wiki, but all I get is that he's alive, he's an ogre. I don't have any physical stats for Shrek. What we can at least kind of imply is that he's well over 6 feet tall, because he dwarfs most normal humans. I would most likely, based on how he kind of compares the height of others, I guess he's probably in the mid-7 to high end of the 7-foot range, maybe even going to 8-foot range. He's easily weighing in at 300-plus pounds, though, just because that size compiled with his very large bulk, he's a very big guy. And because of that, he's very actually capable in a physical hand-to-hand fight. He's actually a decent fighter. We see him pulling out the wrestling moves in the ring in the first one. He can take on multiple guys at once. The only reason at the end of the first movie he got beaten, technically, is that they just overwhelmed him with numbers. That, and they had armor on, so he couldn't really do much to him. Apparently, Ogre hides pretty thick. He didn't feel an arrow go into his butt when it went in there. But that does tell you, though, he is vulnerable to bladed and pierced weapons, because it still pierced his hide. He just didn't feel it. And it also hit a butt cheek, so if it hit like bone, I actually don't think the arrow would have gone through his head. My guess is his bones are pretty thick. But we've seen him avoid bladed weapons on multiple occasions in the movies, so we know he's probably susceptible to that. At least like in his gut or anything. His bones are probably strong enough to take at least a hit from a decently made sword or knife or something like that, but something a bit more advanced, i.e. a Yautja weapon, could probably go through the bone. Other than that, though, Shrek doesn't have a lot else going for him in terms of, in terms of, like, fighting. He doesn't have any, like, signature weapon. He's mostly a family man by the end of the last movie. And we are talking about getting another one coming up soon, which makes sense given how Puss in Boots went and how everyone it's kind of clear. People miss this world. I think people actually miss the world of Shrek. It's been long enough. The last one, Shrek Forever After? When did that one come out? Let's see. Shrek Forever After came out 2010. It has been over a decade since the last Shrek movie. Wow, it's been that long. I thought it might have been a little shorter. I never even saw the tagline. It ain't ogre till it's ogre. Anywho. But no, wow, it's been that long. So I think people are really wanting to come back to Shrek, honestly. With the Yautja, there are many different clans of Yautja, but generally speaking, people kind of composite it, at least from the ones we see in the movie. The Yautja are a humanoid, albeit nondescript, alien race. What I mean by that is it's not clear if they're more mammalian, reptilian, aviary bird. Avian, that was what I was looking for. Although I believe in lore, it is stated that they do give live birth and that the Yautja do suckle their young. So I guess they're kind of closer to mammalian, just a weird offshoot of that. Although if you were to say reptilian, I wouldn't disagree with it. But they're a hunter-warrior clan, and that's their life. They have lived by codes of honor. There are many different forms of Yautja and rankings of Yautja. Elders are like I think it's either elders or grand elders are like the strongest, baddest predators around. They have never lost a fight. Add on the fact that these individuals can live hundreds of years. That they are truly, without like peak or without peer almost. I mean, space jockeys, yes, are a superior race in many ways to them, as we've seen in comics. But more or less, they are kind of like the de facto hunters of their universe. They carry a multitude of weapons. They are master strategists and hunters. Weapons include, obviously, they have certain levels of armor. The first one had the bladed gauntlets, the bow, the energy cannon. Their helmets allow them to see in different spectrums of light. In Predator 2, we saw the homing disc. We saw the combi spear. We saw the net that slices India, the little barb thing he shot. We see a lot of different weapons from them. The cool shuriken from Alien vs. Predator. But they have been obviously beaten before by people on our planet, by humans. Hell, in Prey, the giant 7+ foot predator, 7+ foot tall predator, was killing all these Indians. Lost to, I think she's supposed to be like 15-year-old girl. Now, granted, the girl was, a hunter-gatherer of her own and strategized against the predator. And even then, she only barely won. But still, same with Arnold. Arnold barely won. That guy that's freaking Arnold. That Dutch is a freaking, mercenary, more or less. So, the predators can be overcome. But the question is, would a predator be able to successfully hunt Shrek? That has to play into a couple factors. One, is Shrek capable of figuring out he's being hunted? Two, if he's capable of figuring out he's being hunted, can he lure the predator into a one-on-one match? And then three, can he win the one-on-one match? Let's start with that first one. Maybe because he's an ogre, has lived out in the swamp, has a slightly better attuneness with nature, oneness with nature. Maybe he could figure out he's being hunted. I think here's the thing. He probably would be able to take a hit from a predator that tried to take him out from a distance. Using smaller weapons wouldn't work on Shrek. Even using the net, Shrek might actually be able to tear through that net, or at least stop the net from cutting him up because he's so large. A combi spear would certainly pierce him, but as long as it didn't hit his heart or his head, he could probably survive the hit. So at that point, he knows he's being hunted. Assuming he's not injured, he's like, all right, who's out there? Show yourself. And then the predator just shows up. And honestly, the predator probably is actually equivalent to Shrek in height when I think about it. Shrek might have an edge, but it might only be barely. Weight-wise, Shrek probably has the advantage there. Most predators, Yautja size. Hold on. Most predators aren't super huge. Yautja size. There we go. Size. There we go. Sizes. Most Yautja. It gave me a potato. Yautja. Let's try that. Here we go. Yautja. 7 to 8 feet typical. But I'm looking for a weight class here. Let's try sizes, weight, height. Can I get a weight? Can we get a weight? Weight. Most typical Yautjas. How much does a Yautja weigh? Okay, so apparently an average Yautja is roughly between 250 and 350. So that actually would be also in Shrek's size range as well, from what we can gather. Shrek, again, maybe he's hitting more closer to the 400-pound range. So at best, he's barely edging the predator out in size and height. and they square off and say, all right, bring it on, you bastard. And my terrible, I mean, I can do an okay impression, but it's still a little, it's a little off. And, he comes in, and Shrek is, like, doing everything he can. And maybe he strikes in on the Predator. It may hurt. Like, he's physically much more powerful than a person would be. He's probably at least the equivalent of a Yautja. But the problem just comes down to the fact that the Yautja actually has weapons on him. Shrek doesn't carry weapons on him. That vest is not tactical. It's just outfit. So if he brings out the blade and starts like going after Shrek might grab him, but then he just comes in and guts Shrek. Honestly, there's not much Shrek could do. His most vulnerable parts are his tum-tum and his neck and stuff like that. And those blades are not short. The Predator can dig in pretty solid. Otherwise, he brings out the combi technique and tries to stab him with that. Even if that doesn't work, Shrek is going to be at a disadvantage because he's injured. At that point, the Predator maybe fires out the bowcaster, which I keep calling it bowcaster. Bowcaster is what Chewie uses in Star Wars. No, the Yautja fires off the plasma cannon, which, hits Shrek, and it probably does some damage, but it's probably his hide is thick enough that I think it wouldn't just incinerate his body. He'd probably burn a good chunk of skin and maybe a bit of muscle off, but he could probably take some hits. Maybe charges the Yautja. Yautja just aims the cannon right at his head, burns Shrek's face. Shrek just starts crushing. He's like, yeah! And then the Yautja just shing, and then just puts it straight through his skull and takes him down. Unfortunately for Shrek, this isn't like Predator 1 or any of the Predator movies where the individual they're hunting is a trained combatant, somewhat mercenary soldier, a cop who's armed to the teeth, honestly, when he goes full out on the Predator. A whole group of the Earth's deadliest fighters in the Predators. Again, trained army soldiers, or ex-soldiers in the Predator. Hunter-gatherer. No, Shrek is just a guy. He's an ogre. He doesn't have weaponry. Unfortunately, the fact that the Predator comes in with weaponry, even if he's going to just take off the plasma cannon, and he does that and goes like mano a mano like he did against Arnold, he still has his wrist blade. And long short of it, when he thinks he's going to lose, he'll go into things that he thinks he can win. While there is honor in fighting hand-to-hand, he's not going to die necessarily for that if he has a means to win. Hell, we saw the Predator in Prey fucking knock a grizzly bear, a full-grown male, probably a male grizzly, that was huge, bigger than it, as a matter of fact, and just boom, just clock it and drop his ass, and then gut the thing, and Shrek is, roughly speaking, in that size range. So, it's a good chance that with the proper crack to the head, he could break Shrek's neck. Or at least give him a concussion, which allows him to pick him up and then gut him like an animal. So, yeah, ultimately, I think the Yautja would probably win. I'm not saying Shrek could not put up a fight. In fact, he could probably put up a better fight in a physical hand-to-hand confrontation than, say, Arnold did or any of the other guys did. But long short of it, I would go with the Predator just because he brings far more to the table and is pretty much physically comparable to Shrek. So, but that is just my opinion. Let me know in the comments below what you would do. If you were to write this, what you would write. Let me know. Until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you folks next time. Have a good one.